Hello again, Steve here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit belatedly about this whole Justin Trudeau blackface thing, and you see what we can maybe learn from it, right? Because there's always a lesson in pretty much everything, and if it's in the public eye, why not talk about it? So, first of all, my own take on it is, as a general rule, I don't really care what costume somebody puts on. Uh, you know, whether somebody's feelings get hurt or not. In fact, I was talking about this the other day with somebody who said that they were hurt by somebody, like their feelings were hurt by somebody. My response was, how did somebody else hurt you in that respect? Yes, if somebody clobbers you over the head or smacks your legs or tries to cut the legs out from under you or whatever, yeah, you can be really hurt. You can actually measure that. But feelings, well, as far as I know, there's no objective measurement that can measure somebody's feelings or what it is that caused that, for sure, right? Because you can have two people standing side by side and they're hearing the same thing, they're seeing the same thing. One person is hurt. Their feelings are hurt. The other person laughs about it or whatever. Whereas if two people standing side by side are sprayed by the same shotgun blast of shot or whatever, they're both hurt, right? There's no one might be and one not. The severity, yeah, but you can actually measure that pellets are on either one of them. So this whole idea that you shouldn't do certain things, you shouldn't dress in certain costumes, and you can dress in these costumes. That's a never-ending spiral, right? It has to do with individual discretion and, of course, context, right? I mean, if somebody's doing a play where you got to dress up in a certain costume, whatever, it's the context of it. It's how it's presented, and it's also one's individual decision. I personally think that Justin Trudeau, by the sounds of it, privileged guy or whatever, he didn't really, I don't know, maybe he didn't think about it. It's hard to imagine why he would do that. I mean, I wouldn't do that, not in today's day and age or whatever, and maybe never have. But I think more what this is political grandstanding, because we have to understand that somebody must have had this stuff a long time ago, so why is it coming out now? I suspect it's coming out now because it's an election, right? And there will probably be more stuff come out. And this is opportunism, of course. But the other thing about it is it's particularly effective because Justin Trudeau has been one of these guys who is the epitome of sort of categorization of things. You can never say anything to women or this group or that group or this race or that race. Otherwise, you're some sort of an ist. You're a sexist, a misogynist, a racist, or whatever. So it's rather comforting to many people to see Justin Trudeau get caught up in this. Because that's the problem that the leftists like Justin Trudeau run into, is they're constantly building these categories, these taboos, these blasphemy laws, and so on. And they're creating a trap for themselves because they're the worst offenders. Always, right? Because they've got no morals, basically, so they have to create a whole legal framework to govern everybody's lives because they're projecting their own lives onto the rest of the people. They realize that their lives are completely out of control. And if everybody lived life like they do, you'd have a complete disaster in society, I suspect. So that they have to then project their own internal foibles and control mechanisms and whatever onto other people. So, Justin Trudeau claims to care about women, claims to care about minorities, claims to care about black people, claims to care about races and all that stuff, because he doesn't. It's a diversion tactic, right? It's like and it's kind of an embarrassment, an internal turmoil, an internal embarrassment for him to live with the things that he's done, the sins that he's had within himself or whatever. So he has to then project out into the world an image, a caricature of himself. But the problem with that is it is a very dangerous game because, especially today, it's very difficult to hide our past. And all of a sudden, it can pop up. And it can pop up, and especially in politics, of course, this ammunition gets held back for critical junctions like an election cycle. And up they come. Like all this surfaced, 4 weeks ahead of an election? And of course, his party is going to try to bury it, but it's very difficult to bury it, right? Because not only, at one time you could bury things because you had the entire media system in your pocket, whereas today, with alternative media, not the entire media is in your pocket. No matter how hard you try to stifle it, it's still there. So no, it's well, what can we learn about this? Well, I never really thought about that too much, but it's an example of I think the human nature of trying to project out an image of what our own sins are, right? And there are people who will say that out there, on the internet and stuff, that there are people who are squeaky clean. I don't know of anybody, certainly myself, who's squeaky clean. I've done things in the past which not proud of. And I think the difference is admitting it, basically. So I guess that would be the lesson here is if a guy like Justin Trudeau was to have come clean ahead of time so that it doesn't have to get broken to everybody by somebody else. If he had said things along the lines of this, of course, he wouldn't have become prime minister, but at least he would maybe doing something that's honorable in life. But if even if he had become prime minister, and if he had said, what, I'm a feminist, but I've treated women badly in the past, and here's an example of it. I stand against equality of the races, but here's an example of where I did some really racist stuff. I dressed up like a black guy who was dancing around with his tongue hanging out and a big sock stuck down. And here's an example. Here's the video of it and stuff like that. If he had done stuff like that, people would be willing to forgive him because it's like restitution, right? Standing up after the fact, after it's broken already, and saying you're sorry and doing nothing else is not even a half measure. It's worse because it's like you've been caught and now you're trying to backpedal rather than just admitting it, jumping in, and being proactive. So I think it's a lesson for us in life, in terms of our relationships, right? Is being, whenever we get the opportunity to come clean, we come clean, we get examples, we give examples, and if there's in any way that we can offer restitution for any harm done or whatever, we do the best we can. And in that regard, we become more civil, more honest. And also, in terms of our quality of life, we get to feel inside that we've done the best we can and we don't have to live in such turmoil. Steve here again, great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you're wondering why the light is so poor here, it's because, well, I'm living in a fairly northern place, and by the time I get to work, it's pretty much dark. And by the time I go home, it's pretty dark too because of the overcast. So, and I don't have any better facility to do these videos right now. So that's what we have. Talk again soon. Bye for now.